We're looking. Dude.
I don't have to look at you to know.
That's true. You're a big fan of me.
A big fan. The biggest fan.
Yeah.
Some might even say the best fan.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
You'll take
As long as you're complimenting me, I'll go ahead and say that you're the
You'll
greatest,
allow it.
the best fan. Yeah.
The best, the greatest.
Yep.
The number one.
So what are we talking about today, Tyler?
Oh my God, Elon Musk.
Oh, of course.
Elon Musk and Twitter.
Elon.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
It's controversy left and right. You got massive amounts of
Left and
firings.
right. That's on the nose, bud.
Yeah, it is.
Left and
It's
right.
pretty on the nose. You got massive firings, controversy left and right. AOC was whining.
AOC.
I think he's up to 50% of Twitter staff he's gonna fire. Like at first he said 75%, but that was like before he got in. Then he got in and it was like at 25, and now he's like 50.
What was that shit we were hearing Tim Pool talking about? He was saying that he's doing this shit where he's like walking it back type thing. Where he's,
So
I heard Tim Pool talking about it, and
all right,
sounds disappointing. But all right.
Yeah, Elon has. At first, he's like, "We're gonna, free everybody, unban everybody, bring back free speech to Twitter."
Yeah.
Everyone gets all excited and it's all happy-go-lucky. Yay! Trump's coming back. Alex Jones is coming back. Everyone that's been banned unjustly is coming back, and
now he's walking it back.
now he's really not unbanned anybody, except for there was this one account that was a politician. There's no saying for sure that Elon did it, but I guess they got banned from Twitter. This is during the election. Someone is running right now. They got banned, and then someone posted or they made a plea like, "Hey, Elon, what's going on? Why am I banned on Twitter?" Elon says something like, "I'll look into it," and then all of a sudden they got unbanned. So it kind of looked like he did something there, but other than that, he hasn't made any moves. He's attempted to negotiate, to talk to the activist groups that have kind of been behind the Twitter censorship already, which got a lot of people worried because it's the same people doing, causing the issues that existed before, and now Elon's going to them and he's talking to them "Oh, we're gonna do this," and people are saying that maybe it's because advertisers are backing out,
and now the money,
he's feeling the pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of real money thrown at this thing.
Yeah,
not so easy to make a bunch of weird changes when you got $44 billion on the line.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation.
He is kind of, he does strike me, and I mean, there's evidence of this, that he's kind of an overpromiser a little bit sometimes, where he'll say, "Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that," like he was saying about he's made all kinds of promises with Tesla and SpaceX and stuff, right? But so I think I think the intent is in the right place, but then then he gets in
reality
goes,
of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he realizes that he could just ignore the advertisers being dumb. Because I saw in one of Tim Pool's videos today, he was talking about this. The advertising on Twitter works. Because Tim Pool just released a new song, and he talked about how they bought Twitter ads for the previous one, and it was the best ad campaign that they've ever run was through the Twitter ads that they bought. And so if companies back away from Twitter, they're freeing up the best ad space, and they're going to devalue it. And so there's just going to be a flooding in, right? So all these woke companies, they're going to fall back, and everyone on the fringes who doesn't care is going to fill that in. Yeah. And they're going to become the main companies. I don't think that Elon sees it that way or necessarily realizes it.
I don't think it's him. I don't think it's him. I think it's a lot of the money that's backing him. He's obviously didn't come up with that $44 billion himself. There's some kind of prince involved, and there's some other big players that put big money up.
Yeah, but it is. I think. I don't necessarily think that they technically have any sway.
Well, it's not about them having technical sway. It's more like them being in his ear and saying, "Hey, you know what?
It could be, and it could be in his best interest to placate to some of these people, but
I think he's kind of like he went in so hot, and then now he's slowing down, going okay, let cooler heads prevail type thing. But I wish he had just kind of went in hot.
He's just kind of reset Twitter and like
everybody's
nuts, man,
and let's see what happens. Burn it down and see what happens.
That would be the best case scenario.
Yeah. But it's easy for us to say, you don't have any money or skin in the game. So.
Yeah, we're not there. We're not there in the Twitter office.
I'm less inclined to get on Twitter now.
Yeah, until something actually happens. Yeah. But we're not there in the Twitter offices, kind of seeing behind the scenes and how the business operates and really all of the nuances there. So there could be a lot to it.
Yeah,
a lot of complexities there, but
I'm sure there is. I'm sure it is, but I don't know. It's like. If nothing happens, it'll just seem like these fucking idiots win again.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny all the has been nobodies that are coming out going, I'm leaving, and hoping that people are gonna be like, oh no, don't leave.
Yeah,
oh no, if you
they always do that.
I'm coming with you.
Remember all the people that are gonna move to Canada when Trump got elected?
It reminds me of Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire. You've probably never seen it. Well, when he quits, he gets fired. When he gets fired from his job, he gets all this shit, and he's like, "Who's coming with me?" And like nobody puts their hands up. Everybody's kind of like backing it, and finally he gets one person be like, "I'll go with you."
Oh, The Office did that too, where Michael.
Oh, that's right. That was a play off of.
Did he get fired or did he quit?
No, he.
Oh, he didn't like the new boss, so he quit, and he was going to start his own paper company.
The Michael.
The Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yeah.
And he wound up getting his job back by just like running the business terribly and undercutting the company.
He sells it back to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's the way to do it.
That's such a great show. But there is some good news. Some good news here. Twitter layoffs anger and confusion as multiple teams reportedly decimated. The report is that Musk fires Twitter curation team tackling misinformation. Now, this is good news because obviously the team in charge of handling misinformation on Twitter is deeply corrupt, politically biased, and spreads misinformation, or at the very least does their job terribly, because we saw what they did with the Hunter Biden laptop story. Plain and simple. So you get rid of these people, that's a big move in the right direction to at least, even if he's not going to bring everybody back, maybe not censoring so horribly.
Yeah. Don't let the same people censor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
like he's talking about bringing a new moderation team in. It's like, okay, but who are you talking to?
The first thing you should have done right away would be to get rid of the people that were controlling moderation, who were controlling the accounts, that kind of thing. Get rid of those people. Not the people that are like the techs there and stuff, because whether they sway one way or the other, they didn't have any real control to do anything. Anybody who had power to have done anything, anything significant, I think you should have gotten rid of.
Yeah, and look at how insane this quote is. Elon Musk's layoffs to Twitter's policy enforcement teams will destroy the platform's capacity to stop the spread of hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation at a time when the American public and voters need access to facts and civil discourse more than ever, said Jim Steyer, founder and CEO of digital rights group Common Sense Media. Jim Steyer is a communist dictator wannabe. Like, what the fuck?
Actually, I just thought about it. It just dawned on me. Maybe he's just waiting to the end of midterms.
It's possible.
Yeah, maybe he's just waiting for this.
But
the dust to clear.
How can you say this, right? Like Twitter actively, potentially. Like, you can argue that Twitter's, I know all the social media platforms did it, but you can argue that Twitter's influence alone was enough to literally steal the election, certainly meddle in the election, when they censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. Like, nope, you can't talk about this. You're going to be banned for talking about this. Yeah. And so, but now we're supposed to be like, well, getting rid of the people that did that is taking away facts. No, I think given the track record, it's actually going to be adding facts to the situation.
I think you run a bad platform when it's very evident what way you lean.
Yeah, when you're extremely biased.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you're running a
do.
platform, it should just be a platform. Or else you could just, just call it the left-leaning fucking echo chamber or something. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, they have that, and it failed because they banned everybody because you're never left enough.
Even the right wing stuff, it's like people will like knee jerk join that kind of stuff, but really nobody wants that. Nobody wants the echo chamber for long.
No, yeah,
you might want it for a time period because like I'm sick of hearing this shit, so I'll hear stuff I like. But anybody with half a brain wants all the information. I like hearing shit from both sides. I want to hear all perspectives because I don't want to be, pigeonholed into one side or one point of view. I want to actually hear all the points of view, and then I want to formulate an opinion based on that. Because like you, I'm much more centrist, right?
Yeah. This is really what it should be. It should be these social media companies are just platforms. That's it. Like they're platforms, right? You go to them and you say what you want to say. They should not be censoring or curating anything on those platforms.
Right.
If you want to put hard lines on things that are obvious, like say, okay, pornography or whatever, that's one thing. That's fine. You can do that, or put it behind certain walls, right? With like a not safe for work tag or something like that. But when you're going into like deciding who's spreading disinformation or whose facts are right. Obviously, they are completely incapable of doing that properly. We know that. So why can't we just have it so that they don't do that? And instead, if you post something that is illegal, it is a matter for the police to deal with. And basically, the way that I think it should run is Twitter, for example, shouldn't take anything down until there's a request from law enforcement to say, hey, you should take this down.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this broke the law. You should get rid of it. We shouldn't have that out there.
I'm okay. I'm honestly okay with like fact checkers, quote unquote. I hate that term.
I don't mind it if it, instead of deleting the people who are saying what you declare to be not facts, you maybe
put a little thing on it. Yeah, like they do on Facebook and stuff. Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. I just hate the term fact checkers. But like if you had these sort of trusted sources on like all sides of the spectrum and like these blue checkmark type things, they develop their own credibility, and then they comment on something. And when they comment on something, they'll say, if they're able to actually vet it and say, okay, this is not true. We know this is not true. Then they say that, and people will just develop trust for those different entities, right? Like whether you're on the right or left or wherever you are.
You start to get a gauge for how likely one is to be accurate.
Yeah. You'll go, okay, well, I trust that fucking source. If they say it's not accurate, I trust that shit because they vetted it completely. But the problem is now you're just getting all these different fucking fact checkers and different organizations when they're saying something's not true. You go,
and sometimes
it's
true.
Yeah,
sometimes it's completely true. Like the Hunter Biden laptop story. Oh, that's Russian misinformation. No, that was real. That was 100% real. Is 100% real.
For them to say it first. Like that, like we know 100% that is what pisses people off. If they said we suspect this might be, but we're gonna do the information, we're gonna do the groundwork or do the investigating to make sure that it isn't, or it is, or whatever, right? We're gonna but it's like you get this. They get this narrative or this position first, and they go, "Oh, it's this," and then you've now got to prove it isn't that.
Yeah.
When really everything
even when like all the evidence points that actually you're wrong. It is true. It is
like why wouldn't you believe that this is very credible? This could be something for real. Just like the election, just like the results of the election. It was like just disputing all of it on its face instead of saying, okay, well, yeah, there was some fucking weird.
I love the contrast. You get like some images that overlay two tweets from the same person, one from 2016, one from 2020, where in 2016 they're talking about how the election was rigged, and all that, and then in 2016 they're talking about how the election was rigged, and in 2020 they're talking about how denying the election is like incredibly dangerous, and like these people are horrible.
No, it was a perfect election.
Yeah, it was perfect. the best election. Artie is in the chat there. The problem with fact checkers is that they have been discovered to have bias. Ideally, fact checkers should be independent organizations.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, even if they do have bias,
they are independent organizations, though. It defers to, like, Twitter and Facebook or whatever. They defer to somebody else.
Yeah.
But
even if they do have bias, it doesn't matter whether they have bias or not. What matters is that they actually care about their credibility. The problem with you can have an organization that has bias, but at the same time, they still want to be truthful. And that's the thing. Like, so for example, like CNN right now, right? CNN is trying to make this shift because they're dying. They're going to be out of business. I don't know how they're still in business, to be honest, but they're trying to make this shift now to being more factual news, even though everyone knows that they lean left, or they are, whatever you want to say, where you want to put that. But you'll see now, they start to report differently on things. They'll actually start to report on, Biden's mental condition, or his the Democrats, the fact that they're getting
that they're
decimated.
Trying to be more neutral now,
right?
Because they realize they kind of destroyed their reputation.
What they don't realize is they don't have to be neutral. They just have to be truthful.
Yeah,
you can lean all you want, but just be truthful.
This is a perfect segue into this topic right here.
Oh, by the way, just before you say it, you know who's like that? Tucker Carlson. Is like him or hate him. He leans right, but he tries to stay very factual and centrist on that thing. But go ahead, sorry. Yeah. I wanted to make that point before you got into something else.
This is the perfect segue into this tweet right here. I don't think you saw this. I mentioned this to you earlier. Yeah. The White House tweeted out, seniors are getting the biggest increase in their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership. Twitter, under Elon Musk, fact-checked this tweet to say seniors will receive a large Social Security benefit increase due to the annual cost of living adjustment, which is based on the inflation rate. President Nixon in 1972 signed into law automatic benefit adjustments tied to the consumer price index. And they list the law.
That's pretty sad when the White House, it's like
they took it down.
The actual White House is
took that tweet down.
That's fucking hilarious.
They took that tweet down. It's absolutely hilarious. It's a move in the right direction. I think that we need more fact checking just like that.
Yep.
What is Art saying down here? I disagree about bias and credibility. You can't have credibility if you're biased, in my industry anyway. So maybe there could be an argument in other spaces.
Yeah, but everybody has bias.
You absolutely can have credibility with bias. The problem is, like, do you let your bias dictate?
Well, so for example, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Do you find him credible?
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely has bias.
Yeah.
And he admits his bias.
100%. Everybody does.
So of course you can have
everybody.
credibility.
It's all about how you handle it, right? So just to dumb it down, to make it really real simple. If I don't know, we're doing something in the yard, and you're gonna throw a ball, and I say, oh, I think the ball is gonna go X far, and that's my bias, and you say, well, I think the ball is gonna go Y far, and that's your bias, and then we throw the ball and it goes Z far, and then if the way that these fact checkers have been doing it, they will entrench themselves in the idea that the ball should have gone in the direction that they thought that it would. But if you are credible but biased, you had your initial bias, but then you're like, oh, it went that far actually.
Yeah. Here's the truth.
Oh, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah,
okay,
we said it was going to do this.
I thought this would happen.
Yeah.
But this happened. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to acknowledge
Much
that.
Like
I'm not going to deny that it happened.
Much like COVID, right? Had they just walked back and said, hey, you know what? In the absence of information, we thought we made some decisions, and clearly we were wrong about some things, and then people would, anybody who's logical would have been like, okay, what did we learn from this? Did we learn maybe we don't do this shit anymore? But they don't want to say any of that kind of shit because they want the emergency powers. That was the whole point. What's he got to say now?
Art says Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. In the 1960s, there were 5 workers for every recipient. Now there are 3.
Yeah.
And then he says, it depends on the industry. You could have bias. In the forensics engineering industry, you have to rely on science. This is a black and white industry, whereas there could be more deviation elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's
the issue. Like you're gonna have bias. The issue is how you react to your bias. Yeah. Like in science, that's the best example for this. In science, people often walk into a scenario with bias, and so you'll see this with people.
You kind of have to, because you have to formulate some type of opinion.
You automatically,
or some type of
automatically
framework.
Just like infer what the world
you have to have a framework to start from.
Yeah. So what you'll get is like a scientist, and you might get somebody who's like a creationist, like a devout creationist, right? And they're doing their science, and all the science suggests that the Earth is older than 6,000 years old, and whatever the creationists believe, right? Like these sort of hard facts that they believe that seem to be not true. That person will do the experiments, and then they will like try to do every bit of mental gymnastics that they can to show or to make the data show what they believe to be true. Like they'll go in weird ways around it. But then the credible biased person might say, "Oh, well, I think the Earth is 6,000 years old," and then you do the experiment, you're like, well, it looks like maybe it's like 4.6 billion.
You know what a simple experiment on that is? When two people have a differing opinion on something, or like they think they know a fact, and then you look up on Google, you Google it or whatever you want, look it on the internet, and you look for, people do this all the time, they'll search for the way that they think it is.
Yeah.
So they'll go,
why am I right, essentially?
Like basically, yeah.
They're basically
why don't you
saying,
just search for the information and then see what the information is? Don't search for it in a way that
Except now you can't even trust the search results.
I know, yeah.
You know, they're gonna hide everything now, and now like it's weird.
Artie's like our shadow guy. He should be here with us, but he's
he's like, yes, you formulate an opinion based on facts, but you cannot go into the situation with an expectation bias. I'm not versed in other industries, but in our industry, you get destroyed in litigation. Like, I think he's getting caught up in like, you are going into situations with bias, like no matter what. The issue is how you handle that bias.
Yeah.
Like, do you let it impact your conclusions, or do you just do you like look at all the facts to come to the conclusion regardless of your bias?
Yeah.
But you're always gonna have bias.
Yeah. Yeah. You like I have bias in everything, and anybody would. It's just I try and be malleable.
It's one of those natural human things.
Right. I try to. This is where I go into everything. I try and remember that I'm not the smartest guy that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Right. Number one. Number two, I try to remember that I don't know everything, and I'm curious to shit, and I like to think that I'm pretty good at admitting when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Even when I feel like I want to be stubborn and say I don't want to admit it, I still will be like, I'll begrudgingly admit it. Right.
Yeah.
There are times where you're so sure on something and then you're wrong.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's
weird.
like, it doesn't mean you're stupid or anything. It just means that for whatever reason you've either misremembered something, you misinterpreted something, or you made up something. Like your brain came up with, it formulated an idea.
See, this is so weird. People would rather be perceived as not stupid, or that they want to be perceived as not stupid so badly that they could be manipulated in that regard, right? Mm-hmm. So like, if you think 2 + 2 is 4, you're an idiot. 2 + 2 = 5. They'll be like, okay, 2 + 2 = 5, right? Mm-hmm. They're cheap. They're leadable in that way. You can manipulate them that easily. But I guess that's all I really wanted to say about that.
Artie's going on tangent.
People are just really concerned about that perception.
Yeah,
how other people see them. That they'll buy into anything. He says, I will attend live in the future to explain bias in our industry. I've weaned myself from having bias when I arrive at a fire scene. I mean, that's probably something that happens in.
Well, you'd have to. Okay, so
especially with experience.
But now, okay, Art, listen to this. When you go into a fire scene and you see something, you will formulate a what's the word I'm looking for? A preliminary conclusion as to what the cause is. That's a form of bias. You now think it's something, so you start to investigate that. It gives you a kickoff point, and it gives you a starting point. But if you're a very pigeonholed type of person, or you're not very open, you're you will find yourself just constantly trying to prove that theory. But if you're open and you go, okay, well, this is the most likely.
Yeah. This is where I think
probably
it's
what happened. Like you can look at something and go, this is most likely what happened. But if I find other evidence that proves otherwise, I'll be open to that too. You know, you don't try and look for the evidence to support your theory. You just look for the evidence, and whatever the evidence supports is what the evidence supports. But not a lot of people, I would say the majority of people can't do that. The majority of people just formulate it. It becomes like a belief. It becomes like religion, right? You believe.
Well, it is a religious belief in a lot of, depending on the topic, but that's how it manifests.
And when you turn it into a belief, it becomes a thing that's like that becomes your part of your identity, right? That's why they say identity politics. Like it all becomes part of your identity, so it's very hard to let that go. But if you don't really formulate any beliefs on any of that kind of stuff, you just say, hey, you know what? I'm open and malleable to things. Then you can be much more, easy to change, where what your opinion is on something or whatever, or what you now believe is a fact. What do you got, Art?
He says, of course, that is based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
But I do not collect information before I go to the fire scene to avoid the possibility of bias. I will explain in person for it to make more sense.
Yeah.
I base my opinion of science off science. That is why I don't want information beforehand.
Yeah, but his industry is much different than like what we're talking about. Like you have a very science-based type industry where you have cause and effect type thing, and now you can find what the effect is. You just have to look backwards for the cause, right? Mm-hmm. And if you have a scene that isn't, I'm sure he's very good at what he does now. He's been doing it for 20 years. You have a scene that isn't corrupted in any way. It hasn't been messed around with. It'd be fairly, almost be intuitive as far as finding what the cause was. You can just kind of engineer backwards.
You know where to follow, what leads to follow down.
Yeah. And having seen so many different things, you have all this back knowledge to say, oh, I've seen all these different things. Now you know what you're looking for, as opposed to coming up on something you're like, oh, this is a brand new thing for me. It's no different in anything that you have experience in, right? But the difference with like information and stuff is a news reporter or a pundit or anybody who's in charge or charges themselves with spreading information should, you would think anyway, should have the moral scruples, I guess, or whatever, to always want to vet it. I mean, and if you didn't, you want to say it in a way where you're like, okay, listen, this was reported to me, or I came across this story, or whatever, right? As opposed to, this is it, this is fact, and then after the fact, not even, when it's deemed maybe not factual, not even apologizing or saying, hey, look, I got it wrong.
Acknowledging it, like, oh, I got that wrong. I'll revise my methods to do it better in the next time.
We were talking about that earlier. It's kind of like the new, it's like the new generation's like that now. It's like nothing's your fault.
Yeah.
So there's no accountability for anything.
Yeah.
And nobody even tries to be accountable. Nobody even says, hey, look, oh yeah, I fucked up. I got it wrong. It's just like, you just blow past. Yeah, it's like that didn't even happen. That's why you get gaslighting and all this fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, why are all these like self-improvement, like pro-masculinity YouTube channels exploding right now?
Yeah. Because people want that shit again.
People want that shit. Young men want to take responsibility, but their entire lives, it's been kind of pulled away from them. Like they don't know how. I don't know. They don't know how to act, and they don't know how to orient themselves to like feel good about themselves. They just know that what they're doing makes them feel bad about themselves. And you get all these YouTubers that are just saying like, hey, like here are the core, like here's how to do it. Like be a man, basically.
I kind of feel sorry for them too, though, in a way, because it's like, it's not their own fault. It is and isn't their fault, right? I don't even agree with that. Well, there's a certain amount of personal accountability you have to take. Like I'm trying to think how to frame this. Like, I kind of have to use my own circumstance. When I was growing up, I didn't have parental guidance, right? Because my parents just went around and shit. So I had to just learn and just do things on my own. Sure, could I have done things better? Or if I had the proper guidance, could I have been ahead of things and I could have been further along in life? Absolutely. But it's not an excuse to say, oh, well, I didn't have that, so I'm this way because of that. Well, no, you ought to be smart enough to figure certain things out for yourselves. The information is out there to get it. If you want to start a business or something like that.
But that's the thing.
But there's no one around.
You were put in the situation where you had to.
Well, yeah. It's fight or flight type thing, right? Yeah.
Right? And that's why I'd say, it's not their fault, because when you have somebody who's completely coddled until they're 32.
So it's the parents' fault, you're saying?
Well, it's society, the norms, bad parenting for sure. If you have good parents, your parents are going to kind of push you.
I do agree with that, but at the same time, it's like...
But is it really your fault if your entire life growing up, everything is done for you, everything is provided to you, everything that ever happens it's never your fault unless it's something good? Then it's then you were a good boy. And then you grow up in that world.
That's only.
And then you get to adulthood and you don't know how to act. You don't know how to be a man. You don't know how to take care of yourself.
That's only if you frame it in the way that you say that we don't have governance over ourselves. Because, for example, we have access to ready-made shitty food 24/7, right? You can just go eat.
And we have an obesity epidemic,
right? But some people aren't. And there are people that aren't guided in any way by someone in their ear saying, hey, don't do that, don't eat that, but they still are able to do it. So that's what I mean. So it's if you frame it in the idea that you say, oh, the sheep or the weak person that doesn't have guidance, it's not their fault because they're a weak person and they didn't have guidance. Okay, I can get behind that. But the strong people that didn't have guidance will still rise.
Not your fault. It depends on what you're talking about. People who grow up coddled, I don't necessarily think it's their fault for being soft. But then when you put them in a situation and they act shittily, that I think falls on them. The blame for that falls on them when they when they don't act the way that they should, or they're an adult and they throw a temper tantrum. Okay, that's on you. It's not your fault that your life brought you to that point, but you can not do it. You can
I agree. And I'm more on that end, but at the same time, using that it's not their fault type thing. Well, maybe they didn't learn properly how to act when they were a kid, and it just kind of carried through.
The parents never disciplined.
Art said a bunch of stuff that he's
he just said. His point is, and sorry for hijacking the podcast, is that you can actually train yourself to not have bias in certain situations if you apply science without outside interference. And then he said, good parenting helps, but you have to have some personal accountability.
I agree. And that's the
issue that we're taught to not have personal accountability.
And that's what I mean. So
it's the government should take care of everything. There's always got to be some authority to take care of all of your issues. No. It's
it's a top-down move that has destroyed everything. So they're destroying families, they're destroying all these different elements that would create strong, well-adjusted people. You're taking young impressionable minds. You're taking young impressionable minds and putting them in colleges,
just fuck around,
universities, don't indoctrinating them.
Yeah.
Telling them why it's not their fault. Oh shit, something hurt your ears. Here's a safe
you
space
fucked up.
for
You can just kill your baby.
Yeah, there's so many from the top down things that are reinforcing this bad behavior.
University is adult daycare.
Well, yeah, it has become that, unfortunately.
Yeah, at least 80% of it is now. I mean, I'm sure you get some good programs in some places with some good professors, right? Yeah. It's not completely dead, but it's so bloated with bullshit courses and
so many
nonsense.
Different universities and colleges now that are trying to make these spaces that are these almost recreational type spaces.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? It's a fucking school. It's not supposed to be for that.
They're treating it like students are customers opposed to we're trying to build the future of society. We're no, how do we get there? That's why one of the things when I was in university that repulsed me from the whole thing is if you have a class and you do your exam and everybody the average score of the exam is too low. A lot of people failed or whatever, but the average score is too low. they go back and they curve the score.
Yeah.
They like take away some of the questions or something so that everybody's grade gets bumped. Sometimes like 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
It's like, what even is this?
Yeah, exactly.
If everybody fails, everybody fails. That's how it should be. And like, sure, if everybody fails, that should reflect on the professor.
Yeah.
Right? Or the
that,
school.
or maybe the curriculum's too hard. It's too advanced at that particular point. Maybe
you
maybe
can
there
adjust
was a bunch of information.
There could be a lot of things going on. But to go back and edit,
they just say, "Oh no, we're gonna give you."
Actually, you did fine. You did fine.
No.
You actually.
Oh,
did
you
fine.
failed? No, you didn't fail.
You passed.
You passed.
You got 65.
Yeah, you totally
shit.
passed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab a beer.
Arsid, that's the leftist woke movement that creates us not to have accountability. It's always someone else's fault. That is the leftist perspective. That's like the woke movement right there in a nutshell. University is toxic. 100% agree with that. It is good if you want to be a professional, but useless otherwise. Even being a professional, I went.
That's changing.
When I dropped out of criminology at Laurier, I went to software development at Mohawk, and now there was a shift because the reason I dropped out at Laurier was because it was I wasn't doing anything. And I was doing fine in my classes. Like, I was literally never going to class. I was, like, fucking drinking all the time. Just doing everything except the school part of the university experience.
It's kind of an important
And I was
part.
doing fine in my classes. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. This is fucking stupid. So I left that, went to software development at Mohawk. And that one you did actually you had to go to class. You had to try academically, but you had these mandatory classes that you had to take that were like pushing social justice and stuff like that. Like, it was crazy. So like, even becoming a professional is training you to be a little whiny bitch. Mm-hmm. Sure, if you want to be an engineer or doctor, it's useful as you need that paper. Otherwise, the other studies are useless. Yeah, like, there are a few things that you can't really get around. You're going to have an education to do, and you just hope that you get an education when you go. He says, and the woke segment wonders why they can't secure a job with their history degree. That's the other big issue that's been going on. I don't know if you heard about that. There's almost an epidemic of people with degrees who expect, I don't know what they expect. They expect like 6-figure jobs.
Yeah.
And nobody will hire them. Like, they're working minimum wage jobs because nobody will fucking hire them.
No experience and overqualified, overeducated.
Well, no, they're underqualified. Their qualifications don't mean.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Or like overeducated, right? Mm-hmm. So they want too much money.
Yeah.
So they go in. Like, if they went in and they said, "Hey, look, listen, you know what? Yeah, I understand. I'm just starting. Maybe just pay me $35,000 a year or something, whatever. I'm just starting, but if I prove myself." But they don't want that. They want fucking $85,000 a year to start or something. And it's like, you're not worth shit.
That's like,
fuck out of here. But my parents told me I was worth it.
Yeah, well, that's what the entire system tells them.
Yeah.
It's basically.
Oh, it must be because of this color of my skin.
You got it. Yeah,
you're oppressing me.
Yeah. All through high school, that's basically the message. Is like, you're only going to work at McDonald's if you don't go to university. Yeah. It's like, well, that's not true at all. And also, like, McDonald's, like fast food chains, like, I think like managers at Walmart are making like fucking $80,000 a year now. Yeah. And not to mention, if you want to be a truck driver for Walmart, they start you at 6 figures, and they will train you in house. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
because they know they need. Like,
those jobs.
There's a big shortage of truck drivers.
Yeah, there's a huge demand.
A lot of people don't realize that. I have guys that used to work for me back when I was in sort of trucking, whatever, and they're owner operators now. They make lots of money. In fact, they realized, shit, just go buy yourself a truck. Yeah, and go do it yourself. Yeah, so that's good. I mean,
truck driver can make a lot of money a year.
They can.
You can bring in probably comfortably. You can bring $250,000 a year.
Well, not on your own. Not on your own. Not $250,000. That's. You'd have to be working around the clock for that. But you can if you buy like a second truck and you have hire a guy to drive it too. A lot of these guys do that, right? They'll have 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed this. You drive down the highway, you see all these trucks, and you'll see like there's lots of trucks, lots and lots of trucks, and pretty much every single one of them has a different company name on the side.
Yeah,
it's like it's a thing. It's a booming thing.
Yeah, you'll see the tractor has a different name than the trailer. You know, their owner operator pulling that trailer, right?
Yeah. But you almost never see, like, there's a couple brands that you'll see that like you'll see frequently, but you never see them on the same road. You'll see on your one trip, you'll pass 30 semis, and they all have a different name on them. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. What's he got?
He said, I made $35K while I started and had to work up. He says, you're right about that.
Yeah. I mean,
but you made $35K, at a time when you factor in for inflation, it's like $75K now.
Yeah, I mean, I was making good money in my early 20s. I was making probably around 50 grand a year in my early 20s, which was great money because, I was on my own and, doing my own thing. But what did I have for bills and stuff? You know what I mean? Like, you're not married and all that. So I had a kid early, so I had a payment. But, it was good money, but it was a labor job, right? Mm-hmm. I've always been of the idea that if you just go somewhere, if I want to work somewhere, and I would just like to be able to walk into somewhere and say, look, listen, give me a chance, pay me next to nothing. If you like me, then maybe back pay me a bit, like pay me next to nothing right up front. I'll show you I'm a good worker. Maybe then back pay me a little for what you should have paid me for that time period. And if you like to keep me, then fucking make me an offer. I wish it was like that. I wish it was like a
lot of places won't do that. A lot of places like the place that I just left, they will deal with the turnover.
Well, the problem is, honestly, it's really, when you're fucking hiring employees, it's so much work. There's so much investment into bringing someone new in, right? Yeah. And then if they're full time, you got to pay for all kinds of bullshit, benefits, all that kind of shit. So really, the cost of an employee to bring a new employee in it's crazy more than their wage, because for one, too, they've got to learn. So they're really not making you any money for a while. It takes a while before they're actually earning you money. So, and then if that doesn't work, well, fuck. Now it's like back to the drawing board. Just keep churning, keep trying a new one, keep trying a new one, keep trying a new one until one sticks. But it's a weird way to do it because there's so much waste in that. If you had like a tryout sort of period, like I said, something like that, where you could bring someone in and say, hey,
you volume, 1 through 10. Okay. We rated you an 8. Yeah. We're going to pay you this much. Yeah. We rated you a 3. We'll keep you, but you're only going to make this much until you get better. Like, you do something like that.
It's the problem is, like, you got these unionized environments.
God, we got porn bots in the chat.
Nice.
My private photo go here.
Oh, cool. I like that.
God. Can we just delete those? I don't know how that works.
Who cares? Let them in. Leave them in there.
Girls69.xyz. I want to see her private photos.
What was it? What was it again?
Arsid, absolutely, there's a large investment, especially in a niche industry, and then they can leave or it doesn't work, like you say. Yeah.
And the part of the problem is, too, is there's, like, because of, like, lawsuits and shit like that, you let someone go, like, there's two ways to let someone go, obviously, with or without cause, right? And you let someone go, you try and fire them with cause,
or don't click those links.
Yeah, if you try and fire them with cause, good luck. Like, they're gonna sue you and probably gonna have to pay. So you got to fire them without cause, and then you got to give them fucking money again. Now you got to give them in lieu of notice. Here you go, here's some more money. Like, it really is tough for employers.
I should have tried to get fired. Instead of quitting, I should have like showed up an hour late for like a week straight. I just not done anything.
Yeah, that'd have been kind of funny. They're like, oh, fucking guy. He's obviously trying to get fired.
Yeah. Well, there's one. It's a funny story. One of the guys that started. Well, there's 3 of us that started around the same time that I started.
Oh, that is a funny story.
And there's another another guy about my age, and most people there were older, and him and I were working together most of the time. They had us doing the one thing, and then I was off one week and I came back and he wasn't there, and people were talking about like, oh, what happened? And I don't know what the fuck happened to him, and I guess he had missed a lot of days the week that I was off, and then it was like he didn't show up at all that week, and then the next week, and like he just stopped. He just didn't come anymore. But every, a couple days for like 2 months, the supervisor would come over to our line supervisor and ask him, "Oh, is Connor here?" Yeah, like they were expecting him to come in, and they didn't fire him, and they're like, "Yeah, he's definitely just stopped showing up, and he's hoping that you're gonna fire him." But I don't know what ended up happening.
Well, you don't have to fire somebody if they vacate their position. They just vacate the position. You don't have to fire.
Yeah, it's just gone.
You can
show up.
Yeah, you just have to send them a letter to say, like you have to go through the fucking hoops.
Art says he's dealing with the firing. What, you're trying to get fired, or
no? He's a VP, so he's trying to fire somebody, probably.
Oh,
yeah, he's a big shot.
Good reason to do that.
Yeah, you do. You have to have fucking documentation and shit. You can't just fire somebody with cause. With cause is really fucking tough. So it's much easier to just fire somebody without cause and just give them
pay them out.
Yeah, just pay them out.
Just give them
so much easier.
Severance.
Yeah, you severance.
Fuck off.
Yeah, like you think about it. Is it worth your time and your effort to have somebody sue you and then you gotta fucking do all that bullshit, or you just pay them something?
That's what I wondered. Like, because I always kind of knew what you're saying, but I never really I don't know anything about that. And at that job that I was at, people were always talking about like, oh, you fucking you do this, you do that, and, they'll fire people, they'll fire you, they'll just get rid of you. And it's like, will they? Like, I don't think
they might.
I mean, I kind of myself push some buttons at some times, but they never so much as said anything to me. So I guess I probably didn't do anything fucking crazy, but everybody would always say things like, oh, be careful when you're doing that or you're doing this, because they'll just fire you, they'll just get rid of you. And I never really saw anybody get fired except for the temps, and that's a very different situation because the temps are
so easy.
They're already they're temporary. Yeah.
So call the temp company, say don't want them back.
I wonder if times were different, or if there's a weird conspiracy of propaganda that they spread through the staff, where they're like, hey, start spreading these messages so people are maybe a little bit afraid of being fired. They think that there's maybe a chance, because we don't want to fire them, and so maybe if we can make them think that there's a real chance that we will, they'll be better, or they'll work harder.
It's funny because a lot of people are in the know now. Like, a lot of people know how the system works. I worked somewhere where I was an operations manager, and the branch manager, the guy just above me, right? The guy I reported to, he fired 7 guys in the time period that I was there. I think 4 of them sued. 4 of them went through the workers' comp, or not workers' comp, through the labor board, and they lawyered up, and then the company settled. They gave them money. 4 of the 7.
Wow.
The only reason why 7 out of 7 didn't get
3 of them were
3 of them just didn't
bad.
bother. Well,
no, they didn't even bother. Okay.
They just didn't bother. Yeah, and the one guy I actually told him to. I said, you probably should, because the way you were fired was bullshit, and you have a case, and he didn't. But a lot of people are just lazy and they don't want, or they don't
want to deal with it.
Well, there's
they maybe have this preconception they're going to have to spend a bunch of money.
It's not even lazy. I shouldn't say that, because some are lazy. But I think more than the lazy are people that just don't want to bother. They don't want the fight. I would be in that category, though. I would be in the category of be like, fuck you, I'll walk away.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the long sustained conflict of it.
I think also maybe there's an ethical thing where I think you should be able to fire somebody without cause.
Well, you can, but you have to give them notice.
No, maybe, but
if you're working for me,
I think if you're running a company, you should be able to say to an employee that you just don't like, hey, I don't want you to work here, get out, you're fired.
You can. You just have to give them notice.
Yeah, without notice, go home.
No, but you can't.
No, you can't, and I think you should be able to.
Yeah.
Which is where I think some people might feel that way. So when it happens to them,
but at the same time, then you'd get people that would fucking just abuse it. You get douchebag bosses and douchebag owners.
Okay, and then their company would suffer for it, though.
Yeah, well,
Like,
yes
it
and
would
no.
be bad for the company.
Well, look at companies like Amazon.
Word would get around.
Look at companies like Amazon. For a while, they were a really fucking shitty place to work, and finally it got around, so they're better now, but they're still shitty.
Their turnover is apparently
of course it is
nutty.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
because think about what they do. Think about what you're asking somebody to do.
I think so. There's a guy on my hockey team. His son, he's like 21 or something. It works at Amazon, and he apparently. One of the jobs, this is a job that he was starting doing, like you're scanning the packages and putting them in a bin. Mm-hmm. Apparently, you have to have your average time under 10 seconds, like per package you take. It's like something like that. It's crazy how machine-like they kind of make you act when you're working there.
Yeah. It's really fucking gross when you think about it, too, because you have a company... At first, I get it. When they were first starting and stuff, when they were fledging...
Yeah.
You know, when
before they were like the most expensive company.
When Jeff Bezos was fucking, you know, like when he those pictures when he had those little they had his little office
Amazon
the
logo.
Amazon, I get it. If you had to do it then, I get it. The guy's now got more money than God. Why not pay your employees well? Why not now say, hey, you know what? Now that we are a fucking real thing, we're actually going to take care of our employees. We're going to do some shit for our employees. We're going to give them some good living wages. We're going to give them bonuses based on production. I'm so for that. I'm so for the idea. I hate hourly wages, by the way. Like pure hourly wages to me are a fucking waste. Because
pay per unit.
Yeah, why? Okay, so what is your incentive if you're being paid by the hour to do something? What is your incentive to be productive for all the hours you're getting paid? You're going to get paid regardless.
Yep.
So who gives a fuck, right? Why not say, hey, look, listen, that's what I like about like servers. They get a very small hourly wage, but they make tips. So if you're a good server, you get a lot of tips. I know people that are servers, and they're fucking it's unbelievable to me how much fucking money they make doing it.
Most people aren't like you and I.
Yeah.
Like I want to like if I have the means, I'm going to tip well.
Oh yeah.
If you do a good job, you do do a shitty job. No, I'm not going to fucking give you fuck all.
I'll still give you the
maybe the 10% or whatever. But but like you do a good job. Like I want to tip you 100%, 200% if I'm like doing really well. Like
ask Artie about us. We were at Steam Whistle the one day, and I told the girl it was her last day or something like that, and she was like moving back to I don't know somewhere in fucking Europe, and I said to her, I go, I'm gonna give you 100% tip because she was really good, right? And I go, I'm gonna give you 100% tip. She didn't believe me, and then I gave her 100% tip. She goes, oh my god, you fucking gave me 100% tip. I go, yeah, I told you I was gonna give you.
It
was like $50. It was like it really wasn't.
Yeah, it's not but what's crazy to me is I think that there are a lot of people who like. They go to a restaurant and that day they made fucking like they're well off. They have a good company or whatever. And that day they made like $5,000 for themselves, and they don't even tip at all. Yeah. Let alone the minimum tip. Yeah. Let alone and like for incredible service. It's like
I know I don't get it. I don't get
it.
But there's people that are cheap no matter what. They can have all kinds of money and they're fucking cheap. There's people that have no money and they're completely generous as fuck. So there's no rhyme or reason to any of it.
Yeah.
What's Artie saying?
He says Bezos only can see employees as units that are replaceable.
Yeah.
That's why he does not care. He cares for maximizing profits for his shareholders. Yeah, well, that's what got him rich.
And I'm good.
You're the guy in 2000 saying Amazon's never going to make money?
Yeah. No, and I'm good with the idea that you're going to maximize shareholder
honestly, investments. I think a good way to get there is to incentivize employees. Right.
Like I think you can do both. I don't think you have to do one and not the other. I think you can actually pay employees very well, and you can get the best and the brightest.
If you paid per unit of work, you'd get way more product.
Think about it this way, because you know they're going to be doing everything legal. They're Amazon. They have to do everything legal. Oh yeah. Right? So if their turnover rate is so fucking high, I can tell you right now that it's very expensive to hire somebody and then to fire somebody. It's expensive. It's an expensive program. There's all kinds of reasons for it. If you could make your turnover rate, let's say your turnover rate's 50%, which is fucking incredibly high, obviously. You have a 50% turnover ratio. If you could bring that down to, say, 20%, And those costs that you're now not incurring for the other 30%, you could give them to your employees, to your best employees, not your fucking shit employers. Let the shit employees wean themselves out. They're going to be part of the 20%.
You're not doing fuck all for us.
The problem is you're going to get a lot of really good fucking people that get in the door of somewhere like that, somewhere like Amazon or whatever. And I don't want to pick on Amazon because I've never worked there. I don't know anything. But, so I'm just using Amazon as a.
Amazon's huge, right? Like
I'm just
the
using
stories we hear are the bottom.
They're a placeholder for me. Yeah, I'm just like I don't know. But anyways, so I don't want to say that I'm picking on Amazon.
Tesla is
don't sue me. Don't sue me.
I
Amazon.
think Tesla is notoriously like people want. Oh boy, people want to work at Tesla. Yeah, because Tesla pays like their base salary is relatively decent. Like their minimum. It's
kind of like Google, eh? Like people really wanted to work at Google because they were. Yeah.
But this mainly because those were like software jobs as is, which is.
But they were like great places to work. Apparently, like there was great atmosphere.
All the tech. Oh yeah, no, I would have loved to work at Twitter before Elon Musk took over. When you could do literally no work all day.
No, and I wouldn't want that either.
Six figures.
But would you want that?
To be able to do what you want? Yes, because there are things that I would be doing.
I wouldn't.
With
I
that
hate
time.
That. I honestly hate that. I've had jobs where I've had nothing to do.
Yeah, but you had to go to work,
and I create work for myself.
But like you had to go to work.
Well, like I think not even.
See, like
when I was in management, I didn't.
See, like if I could have a job at Twitter, where I get to work from home, and I have to like do one meeting for 30 minutes a day, and like maybe another 30 minutes a week of work.
Yeah.
I might be dramatically underestimating, but
what's your reason for that? Is that because you want to free up time to do other things to earn you income?
Things. Well, especially once to earn income, like start businesses or explore other things, other avenues.
But that's not because you're lazy and you don't want to do anything at work.
I could do more, and I could do. You got that 6-figure salary. You could take personal risks. For yourself, maybe spend $10,000 here trying to start up this business, or $10,000 there to start up that business. You just have way more upside with that kind of situation. Like I don't want to sit at home and fucking watch TV and eat fucking Doritos all day.
I get that for sure.
But
what I don't get is people that don't want to do anything at work. They just want to be lazy at work.
Yeah.
I'm like, I go to work. I'm here to work. Like if you're telling me. If you give me a job that I can do in an hour and you're willing to pay me for 8 and I don't have to be there, I'll do that job in an hour, sure. And then I'll use the other 7 hours for something productive.
Yeah.
To
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to have to sit in an office.
But I don't want to use fucking 8 hours for nothing.
I don't want to have to be in an office for 8 hours to do 1 hour work. But if I could do 1 hour work and then do whatever else the fuck I want and make a 6-figure salary, I'm going to take that job.
When I was a courier in my 20s, I used to be able to get my route done in like 6 hours. And then I would go home, work out, and do all that shit. And I would get paid 8 hours. But I would do an 8-hour job in 6 hours. I would do more than an 8-hour job. Yeah. I would do, like, if another guy did my route, he would, what I would do in 8 hours, like what I would do in 6 hours and get paid for 8, he would do in 9 hours, right? So I was doing more than I needed to, and I would do anything I needed to do. But I like the idea, and I said this to my boss at the time. I'm like, if you don't give me any fucking problem about what I'm doing, where I am, or anything like that, I'll book 8 hours a day. Just my straight 8 hours. I won't take any overtime, any of that kind of shit. But I'm going to be doing my own thing. I'm going to be at home working out or whatever. You need me for something, you call me, I'll go do it. You need me to handle a breakdown or something like that. So I like that freedom of that.
Yeah, and that's my entire
That's the incentive, I think. Yeah, it's the incentive of getting a good employee. And I was a great fucking employee because I showed up for work every day. I did a great job, and I helped where I needed. That's why I was promoted, right? But I like that. If you can incent somebody in that regard, then I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Like, why just try and get the minimum out of people by offering them the minimum? Because that's all they're going to give you. They're going to give you exactly what you fucking ask for.
Actually, I think I think that there is a weird subclass of people that they show up to that minimum wage job and they hustle, and then the corporation is like, okay, we want these people, we want everybody to be like this person, and so that makes them realize that they can kind of get away with paying that much because these guys, they're gonna come here and they're gonna do a really good job. And so it's like it's really
one of the biggest compliments I ever got anywhere was there was like this consensus of everybody. They said, we don't think you're going to be here long. They're like, we just knew you weren't going to be here long.
We just knew.
They were like, yeah, we knew you were going to move on or up or somewhere. You weren't going to be where you're at for long. I was like, that's the greatest fucking compliment I've maybe ever gotten anywhere. By a bunch of people that knew me for a couple months.
Yeah, that's good.
What's already?
You said, but when you what you said about tipping is valid. Some are cheap, and others care about the workers. I think the people that grew up poor generally have more empathy for servers. I mean, alternatively too, they could be a little bit more tight on their wallet because they have a bit more financial anxiety. And might be an aspect too, but
that could be.
He said that is why you tipped $50, and I am the same, and this is why I have empathy for the situation of workers in a position where they are fiscally vulnerable. And then he said a good employee is so invaluable. And
it's unbelievable how little weight a lot of employers put on that. And I've said this a number of times. I said it to you. And it was funny because people were asking me when we were starting our business. People asked me, they were like, "Oh, you're bringing them on," and people kind of didn't understand why I was like bringing you on as a partner, right? They're like, what's he bringing to? I go, he's bringing good work ethic. He's bringing a smart guy. He's somebody who can learn. He's bringing all these intangibles that I can't fucking teach.
It's true.
Either you have it or you don't have it. Like I can, if you find somebody who's good, and they don't have, if you can vet them well enough to know, like I know you well enough to know that you're good, like that you have a good personality and good traits. But if you know that about somebody, you have somebody who's good, but they don't have any experience.
And a good penis.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They don't have any experience. Well, who gives a fuck about the experience? Experience is something gained.
How fast are they going to catch on?
Right.
How are they going to ask questions? Are they going to fucking
do they have the kind of self accountability to want to do well, to want to actually care about what they're doing, to actually want to grow and improve, and are loyal? Those are some huge things. If you find somebody who's loyal, number one's loyal, who's intelligent, and has self accountability, these are measured in different ways. Like you can just visually see somebody and go, that's somebody who's disciplined and probably has self accountability. Yeah. If they're in shape, for example.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in shape, you can go, that's probably somebody who has discipline.
Yeah. Well, because I mean,
that's just one very easy thing to look at. Yeah. Or if they're very neat. They present well. Like their clothes are ironed or clean and tucked in, and things like that. Their nails are cut. Their teeth are good. All these different things you can look and go, this is a disciplined person. This is somebody who's on that. But if somebody walks in and they're sloppy, or they kind of act sloppy, or they're just slouching, or they're like they don't seem interested, they're going to be
entitled.
I don't care if you're having a fucking bad day. If you're in a position where I'm gonna notice and I'm of some relevance, i.e. for a job or something like that, and you show up like that, fuck off. Like get the fuck out. I have actually done it as a hiring manager at places where somebody's come in and been sloppy or lazy or looking, whatever, and I'll literally ask them like one question and I'll be like, okay, we're done. And they'll look at me weird, like, what? That's it? And I'll go, yeah. It's good. So I'll call you and let you know. And they're like, they're confused, right? They're getting leaving. Thinking, just one question. Like, if that were me on the other side of that, and somebody asked me one question, and they said, "Okay, well, that's it," I'd look at them and say, "Clearly, you're not going to hire me."
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
And have a good day.
Have a good day. I don't know what put you off, but But I've never had it, right? I've never had that situation. But if it ever came up, I would know.
Never had that either. I'm trying to think. Like
you wouldn't have. Of course you wouldn't have. Because you're not going to go into a situation like that. You wouldn't even show up. If you were going to show up like that, you wouldn't show up. You'd be like, what's the fucking point of showing up? I'd be the same. I would be like, if I were going to show up half-assed and not giving a fuck, I just wouldn't show up. I would make the call and say, all right, I'm not coming. And I would make that call, which is funny because some people are like, oh, whoa. I've had that before where I've called places where I'm like, I won't be making my interview. And they're like, oh, can I ask why? Or do you want to rebook or something? I'll be like, no, I've found something else. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for the.
I've done that. They appreciate that.
They appreciate that.
I've done that. I did that a few times. Like when I was looking for jobs when I got the previous job about a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
There were a couple places that I canceled on either because I decided like I don't really want to go to that area to work.
Yeah.
You know, that was one thing. Downtown Hamilton was one of them. Like, I don't know about that. But then the ones that I literally did 2 interviews and I got offered both.
Yeah.
Took the one that offered the most money and that was it. Right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Not to brag, but honestly, I think I've maybe done, I can count on my hand how many interviews I've done where I've not been offered a job. At best. Probably not even. It's like, I can probably count on half. That's right.
It was weird too, because the one that I went to, it was the first one. I had 2, they were the same day. But the one that I went to, like, I thought I bombed it. Like, I was so nervous. I was like, fucking, it's been so long since I've done a job interview or whatever, right? But then, they reached out and they wanted me to meet because I interviewed with like some office lady and she's like, oh, we want you to meet like the crew supervisor and kind of interview with him. And I was like, okay, we kind of in the process of figuring out how to make that work. But then I did the other interview and I got offered that job. And so then I reached out and I'm like, yeah, I got the other, because at first, they wanted me to meet them the same day as the interview, but I had that other interview later in the day, so it couldn't work out. So it was going to be the next day, and then the next day I got the job offer for the interview. So I said to them, "Yeah, like it's not like I'm not going to be able to do that. I already got offered this other job," and they're like, "Oh, thanks. We really appreciate you letting us know. Of course, just for the record, we were going to offer you the job anyway. It was just a formality to meet the guy, is what they said. And then she added to the thing something like, if anything changes, just reach out.
It's kind of funny though in a way, because you think that they say that almost in a way that they're calling your bluff.
Yeah.
If you were like bluffing them, thinking that they weren't going to offer you the job, and that it's almost like a bluff catch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. But I told you the last place I left, the last job I left, I had one of the senior manager guys, basically the senior manager guy, come to me. I'd only been there for 2.5 months, and he gave me his card. He said, please call me directly if anything changes and you want to come back. You got a job anytime you want. I was like, wow. Yeah, in 2.5 months, it's very nice, right? Yeah, it was very nice. But obviously I made an impression, which is, the greatest. And I've got all kinds of different shit from them.
Yeah.
Like I got cards and all kinds of shit from people from that position.
You get a little basket.
Yeah, a little basket, all kinds of stuff, right? Yeah. So it's like, to get that kind of recognition was just amazing.
Feels good, right?
It does feel good. So, but it's nice to see, to circle back. Circle back.
That's an old one.
Yeah, it's an old one. To circle back on something, it's nice to see that somebody actually recognizes the importance and the value of good people. I think more and more we're going to start to see that now with this.
Because it's important.
Well, I mean,
there's less of them to go around.
Right, exactly. With the new generation, not to pick on the new generation. Sorry if anybody's watching.
But we suck ass.
It's not your fault though. It's it isn't. It's kind of your fault, but it's not your fault also. Like I grew up in a different time where it was like, you just kind of had to do for yourself.
Different stuff.
And then obviously didn't have
different
any parents.
Different circumstances.
Yeah, it was a different generation, but but at least now I think that people are actually recognizing that, which is nice. And we'll have to recognize that when we start to hire people. Yeah.
So we're almost at an hour and 10 minutes.
Nice. What's already saying? Then we'll finish off with.
Let's see. Where did we end up?
Sorry, Art.
A good employee is so invaluable to incentivize him to work because you have trust in him. That's why you bring him in. Experience is a lot about attitude. If someone has the right attitude, then you can teach anyone anything. If you show up, then you show up as a professional. Don't bother otherwise.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a good way to. Well said, man. That's exactly it.
That's a good message to end on. Life lesson.
Listen, life lesson to everybody.
If you show up as a professional.
If you want to work at Twitter.
Show up as a professional.
Just show up.
Just show up. They'll hire you as they're firing half their staff.
Just show up and say, I have a ton of Dogecoin.
I bought a lot of Dogecoin.
And I drive a Tesla.
And now I have no money. Oh, I must have hit something. But that's
you hit something.
Sorry, it's gone now.
Yeah. I have Dogecoin. I have Elon Musk. Many murals of Elon Musk.
No US dollars.
Oh,
but I have a lot of Dogecoin.
Everything I have is in Dogecoin.
I need a place to live, please. I need this job badly. Elon, can I room with you for a month or two while I short my shit out?
And I believe in censorship. I mean, no, I don't. No, not censorship.
No, I think I should be in charge of the censorship.
Yes. Nice. All right. Well, hey, good talk.
Do all the things.
Good talk, man.
Good talk.
It's a good talk.
Do all the things.
Thanks. It was a good talk. We appreciate the talk. Thanks for listening to us, and we're